Hello vegan adventurers, welcome to our last vlog in South America. In this vlog we'll show you a few clips from Buenos Aires and then we'll take off and fly back to Europe, Barcelona. And I will summarize our trip in South America, the positives, the negatives, and also recommendations for you if you decide to travel to South America. So the only footage we have from Buenos Aires is the footage from the balcony of our apartment, because we're scared to take our phones out on the street because there is also warnings for theft. Maybe not as bad as in Guayaquil or Quito, Ecuador, but still we didn't want to risk to lose our phones on our last days in South America. So we spent 1 week in Buenos Aires and we witnessed 2 demonstrations here. So this demonstration here was for women's rights, to increase the salary and to legalize abortion. So it's fucked up, but any abortion is illegal in Argentina, mostly because of religious reasons. And women are kind of suppressed and have lower salaries than men here. And the second demonstration, I believe, was against government, probably to again raise the salaries and make people's lives better. So if you didn't know, Argentina has insane inflation, so the prices of goods are really high comparable to European prices, but the salaries are staying low. And I believe Argentina has also a problem with the corruption, which is a huge problem in South America in general. Maybe not on such a big scale as in other South American countries like Brazil, Mexico, where police is basically bought by drug dealers, and if something happens to you, nobody cares. And finally, both Argentina and Chile have a big problem with immigrants from other South American countries. Argentina mainly with immigrants from Brazil, who come here in hopes to find better work, better paid jobs. But again, Argentina has a big issue with unemployment, and even Argentinians can't often find work. So these immigrants are often left homeless, begging on the streets, or committing crimes. What we also noticed that Buenos Aires has a big traffic issue. The streets are really narrow, so this road down here is pretty much the biggest road that's going through Buenos Aires. Once we took Uber to the park, which was only 2 kilometers away from here, but after being stuck in the traffic for about half an hour, we decided to get out of the car. So you better be walking or taking a bicycle when transporting yourself in Buenos Aires. So even though there are many things to improve in Buenos Aires and Argentina compared to Europe, when you compare Argentina to other South American countries, it's doing quite good, especially when it comes to services, lower crime rates, and better standard of living. And here you can see how bad the traffic can get. The cars are literally going slower than a bicycle. There's also not enough greenery and parks around the city center. For example, when compared to Santiago de Chile, there were many more parks and green alleys even around the city center, whereas in Buenos Aires the buildings are built very close together with a really small narrow streets, not so many parks or green alleys. And here we witness this quite heavy rain. So the area around Buenos Aires receives more rain than other parts of Argentina, which is actually quite dry. It's like a desert. But unfortunately they use most of it for grazing cows or for growing food to feed the livestock because of Argentina's beef export. Okay, we're just at the airport in Buenos Aires. We're going back to Barcelona. We just wrapped the baggage, representing the vegan message here. And now we have to wait in the line to feel divine. Alright, so it's finally here. After about 6 months spent in South America, we're finally going back to Europe. So as we take off and fly over Buenos Aires, it's a great time to talk about the review of South America, the good experiences, the bad experiences, the recommendations and warnings. So we came to South America from Madrid and we landed in Guayaquil, Ecuador in the beginning of October. And city of Guayaquil left us with really bad impression of South America. We felt very unsafe, never walked with our phones, credit cards or personal valuables outside. The theft is really common in Guayaquil, together with muggings at the gunpoints and kidnappings. It felt like walking through a prison city. There was a police on the main Malecon Avenue. All the small shops had grates, so you couldn't get inside because of the theft. And all the other shops, if you could get inside, you have to leave your backpack outside in a locker. So we booked accommodation in Guayaquil for 1 week, but if I had to choose again, I would not even stay here for 1 day. I would go immediately somewhere else. Once we're getting home and a group of guys asked me what is the time, and obviously they knew what's the time, but they wanted me to take my phone out and tell them so they can steal it. Another time we were walking to the hill Las Peñas with a monument on top. I wanted to get down some other street, but the policeman told us not to go there because these streets are too dangerous and you can only walk on the street with the police. And even when traveling with the bus, we're really scared because we're reading the muggings are also really common here. From Guayaquil we traveled to the town of Salinas on the coast, which felt more safe than Guayaquil but still had this strange vibe. All the houses have really high fences with spikes, glass or electric fence on them, and also grates on the windows, which is not so common in Europe. But in Salinas we actually had some adventure, not like Guayaquil where we didn't experience anything. We saw also whales, so I recommend Salinas for whale watching. But again, the overall vibe of the city was quite depressing, and you're not gonna miss out if you skip it. Next we traveled to little town Olon along the coast, which is a town right next to Montañita, which is a popular destination for surfers. And I actually had a pretty good surf lesson here, so highly recommend this place. And the local people make it safe because they have a big business from it, from tourists. After spending a week in Olon, we went to another coastal town of Puerto Cayo, which was pretty boring. There was nothing else to do except of the beach, which is also only good for like surfing. The water was quite cold and the weather was quite cloudy almost every day, even though we're near equator. And also we didn't have a car or bicycle, so we had to take a taxi each time we wanted to go to shop. So I highly recommend to rent a car when you come to South America. I said Puerto Cayo was very boring. There was nothing else to do except of bodyboarding. And after that we flew from Manta airport to Quito, where we experienced high altitude sickness after one night, like headache. Quito felt a little bit safe than Guayaquil, but some parts also felt very unsafe. So we also didn't record anything with our phones. We met a vegan friend here in Quito and we went with him for a hike. We also noticed that the area around Quito is really deforested for animal agriculture. And we went to 4,700 meters high hill called Rucu Pichincha near Quito, where I got a severe altitude sickness on the way down and I was throwing up. I recommend to take it step by step and start with the smaller hills and progress gradually towards higher hills. Quito is a huge city and you can be near hills, but if you're in the center, I would not go there, as the traffic is really crazy here and takes like 1 hour to get from one end to another. After Quito, we traveled north to the town called Otavalo, which is a Inca town and had more relaxed vibe. And here we hiked around Kikocha crater, which was the best hike so far. We did a crazy day with the guide. We were mountain biking and hiking on Fuya Fuya and Cerro Negro and also the waterfall. So it was really crazy but really adventurous day. So I would definitely recommend to visit Otavalo if you are in Ecuador. After Otavalo, we traveled south with the bus to Latacunga, from where we did a day trip to Quilotoa crater, where we did a loop around it. But we didn't find it anything special. The Kikocha crater was much better. From Latacunga, we took a bus to Ambato, and from Ambato to Baños, where we got robbed. I made a video about this robbery on my channel, and it just confirmed that Ecuador is not really a safe country. You have to be quite cautious, especially in the big cities like Guayaquil and Quito, and when you travel with the bus. However, the town of Baños was really good. There was lots of hikes and opportunities for adventure from different companies that were here, like ziplining, canyoning. We even climbed the 5,000-meter volcano Tunguragua near Baños, which ended as a disaster because of an unreliable guide who didn't want to wait for us and was lying to us and was really dishonest, so be careful when dealing with some of these agencies here in Baños. After Baños, we flown to Galapagos, which was amazing for seeing wild animals close up, like iguanas, sea lions and tortugas. The only drawback of Galapagos is that it's too touristic, so the prices of excursions, especially sea excursions, are quite high, and also accommodation is quite expensive. After visiting Galapagos, we flown back to the mainland Ecuador to the small town Mindo. We wanted to do some jungle hikes here, but were disappointed when we found out that all the hikes were closed up and private. We had to pay like $10 per person to access it. So this is very common in other South American countries too, especially Chile, where you have to pay money to access nature because people just build private properties and they put barbed wire fence around it, which comes from the Spanish culture where everything is private and fenced up. So after the criminality, this is probably the second biggest thing I disliked about South America, that everything was fenced up and you have no freedom of movement in nature. Even in the mountains you can see barbed wire fences, which is bad for animals. It just shows how greedy this culture is. After 3 months in Ecuador, we went to Chile. First stop was Santiago de Chile, which felt quite safe and kind of like Europe, but was also really expensive. But some parts felt quite unsafe, like the city center, which felt kind of like Guayaquil, mainly because of the immigrants from other South American countries who can't find a work here and are cornered into criminality. There are some nice hikes around Santiago, which you have to pay for. And after Santiago, we went to a city of Valparaiso near the ocean, which together with Guayaquil in Ecuador was the worst place we visited in South America. At least 5 people telling us that it's dangerous to walk alone on the streets. Gonna get mugged and raped. The streets were really dirty. The city had really strange, depressive vibe. After visiting Valparaiso, we were quite disappointed because we were reading that Chile is much safer than other South American countries. But when we visited the town of Pucón next, which was more south of Chile, we felt much more safer there. Pucón is kind of like Mindo, touristic town for adventure activities. But if you don't hire a car, it's quite a hassle to catch all the buses. Most of the hikes are like 20 kilometers away from the town. You just want to go for a little walk or run near the town, everything is fenced up. Some activities are also quite expensive. For example, if you want to hike up to Villarrica volcano, it's over $100 per person. After Pucón, we went to Valdivia, which is another city near the coast. It felt again safe, but for the activities that you can do like hiking, you again need to travel quite a way. So I recommend to travel with a car if you can hire it. After Valdivia, we traveled south to Puerto Montt, which is a boring city which I would happily skip. And from Puerto Montt, we flown to Punta Arenas, which is southernmost city of Chile, and it's quite cold there even in the summertime. Apart from the trip to Isla Magdalena where we saw the penguins, the city is quite boring. Like most people, we wanted to go from Punta Arenas to Puerto Natales and hike the Torres del Paine. When we found out that you have to book your camping spot and pay up to $100 a night just to set up your tent, we decided not to go there. Instead, we went to the island Isla Navarino in the town Puerto Williams, which is the southernmost town in the world, where we experienced one of the best hikings in South America and in my whole life. The trails are for free, everything is open, no fences, and the views are amazing. From Isla Navarino, we crossed over the Beagle Channel with a boat and entered the city of Ushuaia in Argentina. This seems quite dirty with lots of dogs and dog shit. Again, because of private properties, we only had access to a limited amount of hikes. And for others, again, you had to travel for some time, pay quite lots of money for the van and also entrance fee. From Ushuaia, we traveled to Calafate, which was a boring town and also dry. From there we saw amazing Perito Moreno Glacier. Finally we visited small town El Chalten, which is also really great for hiking. The trails are for free and you have awesome views of the Fitzroy Mountain. You can do epic multi-day adventure loops like we did. I hope you like this review of South America. All the places that are worth visiting and places that are best to avoid. Also precautions to take when it comes to your safety. Now we're back in Europe, ready for more adventures, so stay tuned for those videos. And for now, stay healthy and stay adventurous!